Welcome to the Wow Body Podcast, where we redefine what it means to be a healthy, ambitious woman. I'm your host, Renee, a nutritionist, women's health coach, personal trainer, and founder of Beyond the Body. Around here, we talk about building energy from the inside out through food, movement, mindset, and living in sync with our natural rhythms. No more quick fixes, no more burnout, just evidence-based tools and empowering conversations to help you thrive in your body and your life. This is your reminder that health isn't a side hustle. It's the foundation of everything that you do. So let's get into it. Hey, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Wow Body Podcast, the space where we cut through all the noise, connect with our biology, and come home to what our bodies were designed to do, and that is to thrive. Today, we're diving into something that so many women silently live with, and that is chronic pain. Aches, stiffness, back pain, sore knees, tight hips, migraines, all the things that we've just normalized as just life. But here's the thing, unless you've had a major injury, a fall, or a traumatic event, you're not supposed to live in pain. And I can honestly tell you that I have been battling this for the last 4 years, and I've finally come out the other side, and I am just so passionate about making sure that everyone else knows that living in pain, aging, and going through all these things that we think is normal and we see to be normal is not normal. After I had my son, I dealt with chronic back pain for nearly 4 years. I was fit, I was strong, I ate well, but I woke up every day feeling like I was 80 years old, to the point where I was living with a pillow between my legs every night when I was going to sleep, to the point that rolling out of bed in the beginning of this year was just like the worst thing I have had to do in my day. And I would dread putting on my pants, putting on my socks, putting on my underwear, because I just felt so immobile. It was degrading. I felt depressed about it. I felt angry about it. I felt like I didn't want to work anymore. I felt like my ability to live my life to the fullest was just not there. I was literally just always in pain. I felt inflamed, and I was just like, what is going on? I've tried everything. I'm strength training all the time still. I've been to physios, osteos, chiropractors, acupuncture, you name it. I've done it all. And sometimes I'd get relief for a day or two, but the pain would always come back. Or I would be lying on the table, I'd get the adjustment done, and I'd walk out feeling either worse because I'd lay on my back or stomach funny. Now, I'm not saying that physios, osteos, and chiropractors and acupuncture and all that don't serve a purpose, because they definitely do. But if you're relying on these professionals to fix your pain, you're literally only putting a band-aid over it. I realized this because what I realized was that I'm not broken. My body wasn't failing me. It was just inflamed, under-recovered, and crying out for help. And when I stopped outsourcing my healing and started working with my body, that's when everything changed for me, massively. So let's talk about why pain is so common now, especially for women. We live in a world that keeps us sitting, scrolling, rushing, and disconnected from how our bodies actually move. We're inflamed from processed foods, from stress, and from lack of recovery. We've been taught to stretch, not to move, to protect our joints, not to strengthen them, and we're constantly pushing through exhaustion rather than restoring balance. Pain is your body's way of saying, hey, I'm not recovering. It's not a weakness, it's actually communication. So, inflammation. This is the most important thing we need to speak about first. Inflammation is at the core of almost all chronic pain. Not the helpful kind that heals a cut or protects your joint from repairing itself. Like if you sprain your ankle and you get inflammation, that's your body going, okay, we need to inflame this area to protect it from getting further damage. So in order to do that, we need to be swollen, we need to inflame, because this is going to protect the joint, or this is going to protect the ligaments. And then what happens is people take anti-inflammatories or they put ice on it, and it stops the body from doing its natural healing process. We actually need to allow that inflammation when we injure ourselves like that to help the body with healing. And we can help that process by actually adding heat to that. Okay? So that's not the type of inflammation that I'm talking about. I'm talking about low-grade chronic inflammation that's constantly simmering beneath the surface. That inflammation is driven by ultra-processed foods, alcohol, high stress and poor sleep, hormonal imbalances, and under-recovery. When I removed alcohol, reduced processed foods, and focused on anti-inflammatory eating, my pain really did change. It didn't fix it, but it changed. And this is what we need to remember about what real food, not a diet. There's no such thing as a diet when we're talking about real food that is meant for us. I really dislike it when people say, I'm on a detox, I'm on a diet, when you're just eating normal food, because that is real food, and real food heals. Plenty of fiber, quality protein, good fats, colorful plants, and hydration and minerals like magnesium. They're not just healthy habits. They are medicine for your muscles, your joints, and your nervous system. Okay? So part one of you healing your body, if you're in chronic pain, no matter where it is in your body, because it's all connected, is getting inflammation under control, which is the root. Okay? So diet, it really is important. Trying your best to cut out as much inflammatory foods and drinks as possible. I'm not saying you need to quit it all forever, because we do need to have a bit of balance in modern day life. But if you're serious about fixing your chronic pain, you'll be serious about eating real food that's going to actually help your body to heal, rather than to just keep adding fuel to the fire of your problem. The next thing we need to look at is mobility and strength. Movement is medicine. We are not built to sit at a desk hunched over all day. This is the one thing that completely shifted everything for me. And I used to think that mobility was stretching and a few dynamic stretches. That's what I used to think it was, and that's because that's what I was taught in like your traditional fitness diploma studies when you become a personal trainer. And obviously I was a dancer for years before that, and I stopped dancing at 20. And I just, the stretches we did in dancing, that's what I kind of kept to keep me flexible. But I was flexible, but my joints obviously weren't strong for that flexibility. Okay, and I was strong through strength training, but my joints obviously weren't strong enough to cope with the strength work I was doing. Mobility is strength through range. It's how you teach your joints to move freely and safely again. When you actually train out of alignment, and I'm talking about twisting, hinging, crawling, loading joints from different angles, knees over toes, you're actually building adaptability, okay, in your body, and your body becomes resilient instead of reactive. This is literally why now I treat mobility like brushing my teeth. It's a non-negotiable every single day. The first thing I'm doing when I wake up is my mobility. Just 5 minutes a day of intentional movement can literally rewire how your body feels. And then, of course, strength training. Load is medicine, right? When you lift, you don't just build muscle, you retrain your nervous system to know that movement is safe. A strong, mobile body does not live in pain. Now, if you're just exercising and you're not doing the mobility and you're constantly injuring yourself or feeling as though you're in pain, this is probably the reason why, is because you're not training your joints to handle the loads. We need to be putting progressive overload on our joints through training out of alignment, just like we do when we strength train to build muscle. Mobility is the literal key, okay? Not stretching, mobility. Now, when we work on our mobility and we strengthen our joints and we can move our body in ways we didn't think we could do again, we feel so much better. Any anger that you feel from being in pain almost uplifts, because I know how angry you can feel some days when you're in pain. You snap at the people you love. Everyone is frustrating to you because you're dealing with this constant pain, and it's not fun. So when we start to improve our mobility, okay, it makes the biggest difference. When you work on the mobility in your upper body, you release the pressure from your lower back. Your hips, you release the pressure from your lower back. You can't just pick up washing and then put your back out. Your spine is such a strong part of your body. It's so durable. It holds you up. It doesn't make sense to bend over, pick something out, and then put yourself out. It's just weakness in our bodies from our lifestyle that we live. We get to a certain age and all of a sudden as adults we stop playing, we stop dancing, we stop climbing, we stop doing the things that we loved to do as kids. And there's no reason as to why we should be stopping these things. There's no rule book. But somewhere along the lines, we've been wired to think that once we get to a certain point in our life, all of that needs to stop. We make so many excuses as to why we're busy and we can't. And then we get to a certain point where we can't handle the pain or the sickness or the illness anymore, and we go, shit, I better do something about it. But the thing is if you do something about it before it gets to the point where it's really bad, it's going to take even longer for you to undo years and years of damage. So if you can start by incorporating more mobility and movement into your life, doing the thing that you were born to do, doing the thing you did as a child constantly, it's going to make a massive difference to your quality of life. But we live in a world where there is just so much noise. There's excuses about everything. People are busy being busy, which doesn't make sense. We need to be busy focusing on what makes us human, not busy filling our calendars up with pointless shit that doesn't even add value to our lives. Doing things in alignment with what we need. Which brings me on to part 3, and that is the breathwork and nervous system. So if you've been living with pain for a long time, your nervous system is probably struck in fight or flight. This is something that I was stuck in for a while, and it basically put me in this state of feeling puffy, inflamed, bloated. I felt like I was in this body that I hadn't been in before. And this was because of being in that fight or flight. And this is when you're constantly basically stressed out, right? You can't heal when your body thinks it's in danger. Breathwork is your direct access to your nervous system. It's how you tell your body you're safe now. So there's this little breath technique that you can do called box breathing, where you inhale for 4 through the nose, you hold for 4, and then you exhale for 4 out through the nose, and then you hold for 4, and you repeat that for 5 minutes every day. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. 5 minutes of box breathing. It helps to bring calm into the body. Or you could just do deep belly breaths before bed. 1 hand on your chest, 1 on your ribs, expanding through the belly. I do this daily, especially in my luteal phase, and this is when stress and inflammation naturally rise, which means that breath is even more important, and the breath will calm the body, and when your body is calm, it can finally repair. So adding in that breath work, it doesn't need to be intense breath work. 5 minutes a day. Set that time aside for yourself to save yourself feeling the misery of being in chronic pain every single day. We need to stop believing that it's just inevitable that the body's going to start breaking down. That is so untrue. I feel like I'm my fittest, healthiest self in my early 30s than I was in my 20s and my teens. Now that's saying something. My goal is to age backwards. I want to be fitter, healthier, and stronger than I ever was in my teens and my 20s. That is my absolute goal. I don't want to get to my 40s and be like, oh, damn, it's just inevitable. I'm going to break down. Absolutely not. And I'm not going to allow things like perimenopause and menopause to stop me either. So in my 30s, this next decade of my life is dedicated to my health and my well-being and doing things that align with my values and doing things that light me up and make me happy so that I'm getting through those next decades of my life to come feeling fucking incredible. And I want that for you too, which is why I'm sharing this stuff with you on my podcast. Which brings me to the next part, and that is part 4 when you're dealing with chronic pain, is that understanding your hormones and pain fluctuations. Pain isn't random. And it's often linked to your hormones too. Like during your luteal phase and your menstrual phase, inflammation rises and tissue sensitivity increases. If you notice your back, hips, or joints ache more before your period, that's probably your body asking you for rest and longer sleep. When you cycle sync, and I don't mean changing your whole routine based on what phase you're in. When I talk about cycle syncing, I'm talking about understanding your cycle, understanding where you're at, looking at where you may need to make adjustments based on how you're feeling, and improving things in your life so that every cycle phase feels good for you. Okay? So when you focus on lifting heavier in your, say, follicular phase and ovulatory phases, you can focus more on your mobility, your breath work in your luteal and menstrual phases. Still strength training, yes. Still exercising, yes. But you might be incorporating more of the recovery work if you're feeling more exhausted. Or You could actually be feeling really incredible throughout your entire phase because you've been putting in place the protocols that help you to feel good every phase. Like one of my clients who now doesn't even realize that she's getting her period, she feels that good because we've changed so many things in her lifestyle to help her make those changes. She doesn't really have to think about these kind of cycle syncing protocols anymore. However, she's got these tools in place that if she does need to regress, she knows that it's okay and she can listen to her body and understand why it needs that. I personally use my Whoop band to track recovery and strain, and honestly, it's been a game changer in preventing overtraining and burnout. So if I see that my recovery's in the orange, I'm like, oh, we need to make sure we focus on some more sleep, some more rest, more downtime. I need to spend some time that's not in the high stress zone. Maybe today I'm going to go for a walk and I'm going to put my strength training session I had planned tomorrow when I've had a bit more recovery today. Because if I do that, I'm actually going to lift heavier, go harder, and feel better and stronger in that session because I've allowed my body to recover. So if you struggle with listening to your body, having something like a Whoop band has been a game changer to help with just looking at the data as to give you that kind of like affirmation that, yeah, no, you do need a bit more recovery. Listen to that. I love tracking data. I love tracking metrics. So that's why I've got the Whoop band. If you're interested in trying the Whoop band, I will actually pop a link down below where you will get a free month on the Whoop. You will get the band sent to you. You'll get a free month. You download the app. You start tracking your metrics. And if you love it, after a month, you can sign up for a membership and you can do either a monthly or a monthly or a yearly subscription on that. So worth it if you really want to track your health and know exactly what your body needs and you love that kind of stuff. I really recommend the Whoop band. Okay, now moving on to part 5, which is the final piece to the puzzle here, and that is your body can heal if you let it. Your body is a self-healing organism. It was designed to repair, adapt, and evolve, but only when you stop fighting it. When you reduce your inflammation, when you move intentionally, and listen to your body's signals, you'll be amazed at what changes. You don't need to be fixed. You just need to reconnect. So if you're listening to this right now and thinking, shit, that's me, I've been living in pain for years, I want you to know it doesn't have to stay that way. Start small. Start with your breath. Start with one nourishing meal. Start with 5 minutes of mobility. You'll be shocked at how quickly your body starts to respond when you treat her with consistency and care. And if you're ready for deeper support, to truly rebuild your body from the inside out, that's what my Beyond the Body VIP coaching is all about. We combine nutrition, mobility, strength, and hormone balance to bring your body back into alignment, its natural state, homeostasis. And you can book a consultation through the link in the show notes below or head to www.beyondthebody.co. Thank you so much for listening today. Just remember, your body isn't broken. It's powerful, it's intelligent, and it's just waiting for you to listen. Thanks for tuning in, as always, to Well Body. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend who's been living with pain. She might just need to hear this today. Have a wonderful day or morning or evening or whenever it is that you're listening to this podcast, and I look forward to having you join in the next episode.